When it comes to hiring, we've talked about it a lot. Sometimes I'm really positive about it, sometimes I'm negative about it. But I got to thinking the other day how I have hired across my time at Kaiser has changed substantially. And just recently, like within the last couple of weeks, I've changed my outlook on it for kind of the final time, I think. And I kind of want to just walk through the process. So originally, when I first started working at Kaiser, and our team was very, very small. We had Stan in the blast shop, we had Chauncey in the powder coating shop, and I was helping Chauncey. And then I went and finished up my senior year at college. And I think my dad Jay hired a helper for Chauncey, and that was about all we had. So extremely, extremely small. And as we were trying to grow and we had more jobs to do, and we were just trying to find some extra sets of hands to help, when you're starting to grow pretty quickly or wanting to take on more jobs, you need people that know what they're doing from the get go. Like, we didn't even really know enough to be training people, right? Like, we needed people that had done it before, essentially. So at first, I was hiring for skills. I was looking for people that had previous powder coating experience, and if they didn't have any, then I probably wasn't interviewing or hiring them because we really wanted people that at least had some sort of experience and been around it because we realistically needed to learn from them a little bit. We'd been doing it for a while. We had a decent idea, but we knew that there were people out there that had been physically being a powder coating technician for a while that had experience in time doing it that we didn't have. They'd seen things that we hadn't seen. I was hiring for skill. It's really hard to do. It's really hard to evaluate the skill, especially when we're not really sure what is good or bad at that point. And there's really not a lot to choose from either because powder coating, finishing, blasting coatings industry is a niche. And so it's not like they were abundantly available to apply. We did get really lucky and we found Jay Wills had been powder coating for a very long time at another company, and that was a really good addition to our team early on because he brought a lot of previous experience, so all the basics were covered. And by that time, we had a pretty decent idea how we wanted to do things, and we kind of meshed his experience together with our really high expectations and really high quality standard. Kind of put those together, and Jay Wills is still with us today. He's our main sprayer, and one of the big reasons why we are as good as we are, essentially. And so that's when we were hiring for skill. It was very challenging since there's not an abundant people, high skill powder coaters, because there's just not very many people that do it. I kind of had to get away from that as we got bigger and bigger, and we needed more hands, right? We needed more hands on the floor to just help do things and get parts hung and packaged and moved around. We were in desperate need of people, kind of like companies are now here in 2022. And so I was just looking for warm bodies at that point. Anybody that would come in and do an interview and showed a little bit of interest and had maybe just some sort of manual labor experience, we were giving them a shot. Some of those worked out, some of those didn't. A lot of those didn't. It's hard, right? We were really busy. We wanted to grow. We needed more people. Most of the people that were coming in never done it before. Come to find out, they really hadn't done very much manual labor experience, even though that they said they had. And so it usually just ended up being a disaster, or they would only be there for a few days and stop showing up, or they'd work for a while and just be so um, inefficient that we'd have to let them go. That kind of went on for a while. The last year or so, we really started focusing on hiring, got some really good questions written down to try to evaluate people's previous experience and um, if they were going to be capable of working in a hot environment, manual labor all day long, and being quite a bit pickier about the hires. At that point, we're kind of mixing together, looking for skill and kind of a warm body, essentially, and just trying to get the best mix of that we could. And then recently, in the past couple weeks, maybe month or so, now I've shifted to just looking for a good culture fit. And I know that might sound cliche, and you might hear that a lot in people giving speeches and on YouTube and Instagram and TED Talks and podcasts. And so it's kind of like, culture, blech, like I don't. Everybody talks about that, but we're a small business, and we don't have time to put up ping pong tables in the break room and build culture, right? Like we're not huge. We're not Google, right? We don't have free food for breaks and lunch and all that. But what I mean by a good culture fit is this someone that kind of matches up with our values, someone that gets along with our team really well and would get along with us well outside of work. Like minded people, goal oriented, want to do a good job, have really good character, meaning they're going to do the right thing even when no one's watching. When they're the only one in the shop, they're not going to take shortcuts. They're going to do it the right way because they're proud of what they do. I started thinking about that what we're trying to establish and accomplish is a really high level and high quality of work. And everybody that's on our team now kind of follows those values, and they're hardworking and they want to do a good job. And they understand that we have really high quality. And if you compare us to other powder coaters in the area, we're right up there. We're one of the ones that's kind of setting the pace and setting the bar. And that's where we want to be. We think highly of ourselves, not because we're full of ourselves or cocky, just because we're proud of all the hard work that we've done. A lot of the uh, people that are on our team now have been with us for quite a while. And so they have the blood, sweat, and tears in it. They get up and they want to come to work and they want to do a good job. And they're disappointed when things come out bad. They're disappointed when they make a mistake that something slipped by them and it shouldn't have. And they're upset and frustrated with themselves. And they hold each other accountable. They're upset and frustrated with each other when someone cuts a corner or makes a mistake that was a simple bonehead mistake that everybody knows shouldn't have been made. And we hold each other accountable that way. And so what I've been looking for now is I want people that match up to that, that like to be held accountable, that um, want to be at work on time and ready to work in the morning, and want to do a good job and want to hold themselves to a high standard, and want to be somebody that other people look up to and want to kind of help set a standard of really good high quality powder coating and coatings, and that like when they put on a Kaiser stocking cap or a sweatshirt or t-shirt, that they're proud to put that on, and they know that that name and that logo carries some weight, and that people respect what we do and bring problems to us to solve because they know that we can solve it and they trust us to solve it. I'm gearing more towards if we can find people that are interested in being a part of that and get excited about being a part of that. That's a lot more important to me than previous experience, being really skilled, no matter what background that you come from. That the mindset and wanting to do a good job and really buying in and wanting to be there and not being lazy, or like when a mistake is made or something gets messed up, it's simply because it was a mistake and an accident and something slipped by them. It wasn't because of they cut a corner on purpose or that they just didn't care. I don't want to be here and I don't like this and I'm just here because I need a paycheck and I hate this job. I don't want you to be there if you hate it. Right? If and I understand that it happens, and I'm trying to evaluate. We evaluate when we hire somebody, obviously, to try to think if they're a good fit. And I've really been focusing on that. But I evaluated after we've hired them too. Like within a week or two, it's pretty evident if they fit in with our team and our culture and our way of thinking is a better way of putting it. It's just obvious. It's body language from the get-go. On the first day, did they show up on time? They're new, they haven't been around it, but are they attentive and listening and trying to jump in and help? Or are they just standing there with their hands in their pockets, always looking the other direction, dragging their feet when they're walking across the shop floor? It's obvious if they don't want to be there, and it's really obvious if they do want to be there. And we're looking for people that want to be there and are interested. And instead of looking at the hard work and the uh, particularness or the perfectionism that we have or the attention to detail, instead of looking at that as like, whoa, these guys are going way overboard. They're taking this way too seriously. We don't want that mentality. We want somebody like, wow, this group of people really pays attention. They want to do a really good job. Like nothing is going to get by them. Like, that's fantastic. I want to be a part of that. That's cool. And I understand that that's not for everybody. And the our whole team understands that too. But at the end of the day, we want to be around people that really want to do a good job. And so that's kind of the stages that I went through. At first I was specifically looking for skill. And of course I still look for skill if it's there. Like, but I'm not necessarily that's not my biggest thing I'm looking for anymore. And then when you're really strapped for help and you really need people and you're super busy, of course sometimes you're just like, man, I just need an extra set of hands or I just need a warm body. Everybody knows that's not the right way to go about doing it for any type of job. I don't know why it took me so long to dawn on me or to think about, but it just makes sense that you just want to find good people, first of all, that are just a good person, a caring person that wants to do a good job, and then try to make sure that their values and how they live their life and go about their day to day match up with our team because there's just no way that it'll ever work if the values are different. And what it really boils down to for us is just like the work ethic and the attention to detail and wanting to actually be there and do a good job. And it's obvious, like you can't fake that. You can have somebody with zero experience. It's obvious if they want to be there and they want to do a good job. From the second that they step foot in the shop and every hour that they work, it's obvious. And if they don't want to be there and they don't care what kind of job they do, that's also obvious. Everybody can see it. It's not just me. It's crazy how the mood on the shop floor can change or the feeling on the shop floor can change when a new person starts and they are attentive and after it and ready to go and eager. It's like a buzz on the shop floor. Everybody is excited like, "Oh, yeah, like we got a new person and they care just like we do." Yes. And then there's the other times when, it's about 50-50. It's hard when we do finally make the decision to hire. It's still kind of a guess because you can only know a person so well after 45 minutes with them, right? But when you get those ones that, you know, they're not as dialed in and focused as we are, then when those type of people start, the mood on the shop floor is glum kind of, but also just frustrated and upset, disappointed. There's this feeling of everybody's kind of got their eye on the person and everybody's thinking, um, okay, we got to make sure that we keep you busy because if we don't, you're just going to stand there and act like that you're working. One of the reasons why we struggle with hiring for a long time is because I didn't want to make a mistake. I didn't want to hire the wrong person. But because then I thought, like, am I going to have to fire them? Are they going to quit? Like, how are we going to figure it out? And since we have a big enough team now, even though it's still pretty small, it varies between 8 and 10 people, depending on the time of year. Since we have a pretty decent sized team and everybody is now kind of in the same mindset and thinks along the same value set, um, It's a force that is just there, and so when someone comes in that doesn't get along with that, they pretty much just kinda see themselves out, essentially, and it usually happens within the first few weeks. They just stop showing up. They understand that they don't agree with what we're doing or how we're doing it, or they don't wanna work as hard, or they don't wanna pay that close attention, and I think the biggest thing is they don't wanna be held accountable in terms of if they make a mistake or they're not doing something the way that we do it. 3 people will say something to them throughout the day at different points in time because they're like, "Hey, don't do it like that. We do it like this. Everybody here does it like this. We've proven that it's a good way." The people that get excited and are like, "Yeah, okay, yes, I know, I understand. Yep." And then they do it how everybody else does it on the team. The people that don't, they just get frustrated and be like, I don't understand why this matters. I just want to do it my way." I always thought that someone really had to like the job and had to like hanging and packaging and washing, pre-treating and spraying powder and working in the heat. I thought that that was the most important thing, that they enjoyed the actual action of what we were doing. But recently I've realized that it's actually more, do they enjoy the team that they're working around? Are they like-minded and agree with how everybody thinks on the team and kind of get in that mode and that spirit? That's more important. When someone comes in that really excels and really buys in and really likes working with a team, is because they agree with what we're doing and they take a look at our opinion and how we do things and they say, "Yeah, I agree with that. That makes sense." That's been working a lot better in terms of hiring here recently in the past few months. And that's what I'm really, really focusing on going forward. It's hard to evaluate by myself or with Abby and Chloe helping with phone interviews, but it's really evident when someone starts and they have the first few days and they've been around the team. It's pretty obvious if it's going to work out or not.